I'm Cameron Watts, minister at Fairlawn Avenue United Church, welcoming you to the third of 5 videos about Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. This is a distillation of what several of us at the church learned as we studied the book together. Before you watch any more, 3 things. First, the book is a product of its time and uses non-inclusive language. As an obvious example, women and those who do not identify as binary search for meaning as well. I will try and use inclusive language whenever possible in these brief insights into the book. Second, I will put some questions to you. Feel free to pause the video and let your mind and heart work with the questions or anything else that comes up. Third, the first 2 sessions and to a lesser extent the last 3 arise from Frankl's experience in Nazi death camps. If you are reading the book along with us, and even in some of my citations, the descriptions of violence and evil are difficult to carry. I will say this at the end again, but please look after yourself. Be good to you. We've arrived at the 3rd chapter, Logotherapy. On page 92, Frankl says that according to logotherapy, the striving to find meaning in our life is our primary motivational force. Frankl cites 2 studies as evidence. The first one was in France, where 89% of the people polled admitted that a person needs something for the sake of which to live, and 61% said there was something or someone for which they were willing to die. A Johns Hopkins study of 8,000 U.S. college students for the National Institute for Mental Health reported that 16% of the students said that making a lot of money was primary to them, but 78% said finding meaning and purpose in life was first. I suspect those figures would not hold post-pandemic. They need to insulate themselves against the uncertainties of the future. That would drive the primacy of making money a little higher, I would think. And there are fewer reasons to believe that our understanding of life as meaningful exists after it was so easy to disable those lives with a virus. Mind you, the folks in the room for the discussions in the past couple of days, who know a lot of young people, noted their altruism. Frankl makes a strong case for a path to create meaning. He describes the necessity for an inner tension rather than an inner equilibrium in order for us to maintain mental health. He says, "I consider it a dangerous misconception of mental hygiene to assume what a person needs in the first place is equilibrium, or as it is called in biology, homeostasis. In other words, a tensionless state. What a person actually needs is not a tensionless state, but rather the striving and struggling for a worthwhile goal, a freely chosen task. What they need is not the discharge of tension at any cost, but the call of a potential meaning waiting to be fulfilled by them." He describes how this works in a therapeutic setting where people want release from tension or to be able to walk away from it. This is countered by the principles of logotherapy, which include the understanding that the experience of tension helps us develop better ways to think about our life and allow us to be more useful to others. The challenges become the foundation from which we operate. Now, as a church person, I organize my own path by trying to figure out who Jesus is, yes, but how he would behave in the situation. Because he, to my understanding, asked questions to invite people into a different reality, rather than give them all the answers. Questions create a tension that pushes me to regularly define and redefine my goals. Not all challenges are fun. Not all challenges feel good, but they can provide an opportunity to grow. Let's take a second here and pause the video, and why don't you just let your mind wander to a challenge that you experienced that over the time of dealing with it caused you to grow as a person. Just to add to that, Frankl writes, "If architects want to strengthen a decrepit arch, they increase the load that is laid upon it, for thereby the joints are pressed more firmly together. So if therapists wish to foster their patients' mental health, they should not be afraid to create a sound amount of tension through a reorientation toward the meaning of one's life. And I will add, all the while creating a safe place for that tension to be increased. Therapy and even human interaction invite us into a broader conversation with ourselves and open us to healing and finding solutions. Later in the chapter, he describes the categorical imperative of logotherapy. Now, this was difficult for me to understand. I will make no assumptions about you, but I am going to come at it a couple of different ways. Here's what he calls the categorical imperative of logotherapy. Live as if you were already living for the second time, and as if you had acted the first time as wrongly as you are about to act now. Live as if you were living already for the second time, and as if you had acted the first time as wrongly as you are about to act now. Now, what does that mean? I think what it means is that we have to imagine that the present is past, and the past may be changed or amended. We live in the present, trying to figure out what to do about our past, so we relive it. We confront our finiteness and the finality of life. And we say, I have a choice about what I'm going to do this time and how I'm going to interpret what I did the last time. Everyone has a choice. Live as if you have a do-over. Then take responsibility for it. I'm going to pause again for a second and ask you, if you want, to wonder what you need a do-over for and how your understanding of what happened helps you reframe what you're going to do now. Frankl says that there are 3 ways to discover the meaning of life. Oh, and by the way, I'm just going to rewind a sec. I might have that entirely wrong, and if that's the case, feel free to put it in the comments. Sorry. 3 ways to discover the meaning of life. 1, he says, is to create a work or do a deed. The second is to experience someone or something, goodness, truth, beauty, loving a unique human. The third is the attitude we take toward unavoidable suffering. That will help us understand the meaning of life. And he will in this chapter focus on the last 2. He talks about love as an experience. The only way to grasp another human is in their innermost core, and we have to let their innermost core grab us. Love enables us to see their essential traits. It enables us to see the potential that they have, and that we have the privilege of being a part of their journey toward actualization. Loving that person allows them to move toward that actualization. And love is striving to always do the best for the person you love. That's my definition. Another way to say it is in The Road Less Traveled, the book by M. Scott Peck, that love is not a feeling, it is doing the right thing by the other person. And this makes sense to me because of the sense of what love is in the New Testament, where it says, God is love. God is the informing and informing compassion and wisdom of the universe. God loves us into being and strives for our sake. Another question for you. Who has loved you like that? Or who have you had the privilege of loving like that? The other thing Frankl will say helps us to discover the meaning of life is unavoidable suffering. I want to underline unavoidable because he will talk about this more in the chapter we'll discuss next week. It's not that we find suffering, it is that we have a way of responding to unavoidable suffering. When we are no longer able to change the situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. When we are no longer able to change the situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. And that is another way we find the meaning of life. Finally, I want to say that, and he says this on page 123 of my edition anyway, one of the main features of human existence is the capacity to rise above our conditions, to grow beyond them, to change the world for the better if possible, and change ourselves if necessary. I'm going to repeat that. We can change the world for the better if it's possible. We can change ourselves if it's necessary. And one of the ways he talked about how that was lived out was in his attitude toward the people who wanted him dead or wanted to humiliate him for those years he was in the prison camp. He never lost the sight of their having human dignity. It was tested, and he was not the person all by himself who figured this out, but there were also many people who said, I cannot give this person who's persecuting me any dignity. They are subhuman. Frankl would say, no, their dignity always existed, and you can't take that away. You have to allow for the possibility that they're becoming as well. No one, no person loses their human dignity. So I want to offer you a moment of closing self-care as we have the last few times. I want you to relax, close your eyes if that's helpful, settle down in your seat or whatever wherever you are. And I want you to imagine the last time someone treated you with dignity. Now, relive that moment. Thanks for spending the time with us today. If this was helpful to you, then please give it a like. Remember to subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Leave a comment. But if you do nothing else, be good to you.